man, like you talked about the social injustice that took place this summer, uh, how was the temperature around the campus and indoor facility and things of that nature when all this took place? Because, like I said, it was shock. It was like, oh, wow, okay, we're doing it. And to see, in my case, while I look at Saban, hearing the voice of the players, and not about just doing it just because it was doing it, but being on the right side of history and to march in solidarity and showing that we are all one. We all want the equality. We want these things to be done right and all these things. Did you know about it ahead of time, and what was the climate like in the conversation like on campus, in the compliance office and things when these things were taking place?
You know, we all know the history of Alabama.
Yes.
We all understand the history of Alabama, and I don't have to go that deep into that. But what we are seeing is a younger generation that are standing up and fighting for the least of these. You know, as the Bible talks about, like, of the least of these.
Yes, yes.
There are some hurt, there are some suffering that are going on in this world. And these student athletes have recognized that. The administration, from across the board, have supported them in their voices, obviously. And I just sat back and watched it, honestly, to see what culture I was a part of and what I was dealing with.
36 Unfiltered, aka the Unfiltered room with Mr. E.G.O.A.T. Introducing all the latest names and the latest news. Hottest take, he the new face, yeah, the new sound, but keep it old school. Raw interviews from local athletes, even digging off in entertainment too. Own style, he got his own lane, it's Unfiltered, dog, we keep it raw, man. New content to keep the people ready. E36, no Jerome Bait, it's real dialogue and real conversations. You keep it real, but we real. Mr. E.G.O.A.T. in the building. E36 Unfiltered.
Welcome live, everybody. How you doing? It's your boy E-Gray from the E36 Unfiltered Room, aka we getting it in here, guys. I have a special guest, and we are back again with another great edition. Back here with a guest, one of my former teammates, man, a great guy, and we all just pretty much have grown up from young men to full-grown men. None other than former University of Alabama standout offensive lineman. Also coming from Grove Hill, small town of Grove Hill, Alabama. Now is the director. It's the director of the A-Club Alumni Association at the University of Alabama. None other than my man, BJ Stabler. How you doing, BJ?
I'm good, E. I'm good, man. Thank you. I'm blessed to be here. Love what you're doing, man, and just engaging and connecting people with people. It's just a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here, bro.
Absolutely, man. No problem. Thank you so much for taking the offer on. And I see the back. I was complimenting earlier. I'm like, yo, my man is doing with the backdrop here. I mean, A-Town deck down, and you got our man Glenn in the background with the pick stuff, man, like that. So let's talk about this, man. I like the decor and everything you got set up. Let's talk about your new position now. You're as director of the A-Club Alumni Association, which I tell you, when I heard about it, but I couldn't have been more proud and knowing that this was the right person that needed to be in this position after so much development that you have done in other places, Georgia State, Kansas City Chiefs, which is actually in the Super Bowl for the second time in a row. Let's kind of let's talk about that, man. How that position came to be, and how has the transition been in such a crazy time with COVID not being able to do a lot of the things that we normally would have done.
You know, obviously, like you mentioned, I've been a journeyman within the sports industry. And so this is one of the opportunities that came available to me, not to try to get into a sad story, but more so honoring my father. You know, back in 2019, my father passed, and there's a rough period in my life, and we can get into that if you choose to, but there's a rough period in my life in 2018, but obviously there's a transition that happened within that.
Yes.
In each rough period that came available, there was a good moment of a beacon of light that comes available. And the light was this opportunity of University of Alabama having this job that was open. Tommy Ford, obviously, Tommy has been in the job for 37 years, done a fantastic job of keeping the alumni engaged, and after he actually retired, which ultimately means there's longevity into the position because
retired, yes.
You look into that, And it felt like a perfect season for me to come back to Alabama. I never thought that I was going to be coming back. Obviously, with the removal of my dad from his physical body from the actual space, it's almost like I felt like I was next in charge to come there and serve for the comfort of my family. But not only that comfort for my family, also being able to do and insert myself into the university and make a big splash as much as I can to leave my identity. And so that's why I'm back here. As a director of A Club, my job is to connect our A Club alumni like yourself, keep them connected back to the university in various different ways, through golf tournaments, through social gatherings, through events, through reunion, and several different aspects, not just an aspect of us receiving. Obviously, there's an aspect of us actually giving back. And that's what, the department is headed towards. That's the direction that we're doing. We want to look at several different ways of giving back to our alumni.
And I can say that you have definitely done a great job of doing that, even in your limited time you have been in that position. And this kind of go back a little bit to kind of talk about BJ Stabler and how you came to be. Like I said, we mentioned you came from Grove Hill, Alabama. And so I think you're a 3-star coming out, 6'4", 300, pounds. There I remember you because it came similar, not far from Anthony Madison, which came from Thomasville, Alabama. So that's right up the street from you guys and everything. And to see you come into there and you, I guess you was 3-star, but Brady's like number 14 offensive lineman in the nation. Yeah, I'm going off the dome with a little research on my man. You came in there. By that time, I was already there. I had been there for a year, redshirt first year. So, but anyway, I think you redshirted your first year because you had an injury that ended, I think, a finger injury that ended up resulting you to having to redshirt. But the second year you came in, man, it started, I think, your first 8 or 9 games as a redshirt freshman until, of course, injuries came in, and then you got back with it. You battled up and down. Now, I remember that, man. It's so crazy. I was like, man, I just think about BJ like you was always having to battle with injuries with your knee, different things. I think you had. I can remember off the top. I think you had at least 3 knee surgeries that I can think of. That's me personally knowing. She probably had even more. And then, of course, it led to you eventually in 2008 taking the medical. I think giving the game, having to make that decision. How difficult was that, man? And how much do you think what you went through during those trying years, those times, helped build you into the person that you came into, the player development, eventually to Kansas City, things you did at Georgia State, and just stuff you did at Alabama before you even left? How much do you think that contribute to the journey, the man that you became, and the position that you held?
Man, truthfully, honestly, first of all, I'll give kudos to you and the research that you've done. Like I said from the beginning, before we even started this, you uphold this podcast and yourself at a professional level, and I love to see that. I love to see young brothers like you and continuously doing that research and showing that this is not something that you take lightly. And so, for me, going through those injuries, obviously, I have had a total of 5 knee surgeries. One surgery on my finger. Obviously, offensive linemen, we're gonna have the worst looking fingers ever, but I had 6 surgeries total thus far. After playing the sport, during those up and downs, honestly, man, it was a looking back, you have the ability to see the battle. While you're in, you don't know what the battle is. I also tell people that truthfully, we have one life to live, right? And this is my life. I can't sit here and tell people how hard a situation that I'm going through at that time that it is, because I don't have anything else to base it off of. This is my first time through this phase of life. Even if I have a second surgery, this is my first time going through a second surgery. After I had the 3rd and 4th and 5th surgery, this is my first time having a 4th, 5th surgery. And so I look at those things as, this is my first time going through it. I can't base it off of how the next man handled his scenario or his situation, because it was his situation. It was his scenario. And so I looked at mine as if it was an opportunity for me to learn from something. I never thought that I went through something for no reason. Although it may have been less than ideal, I wanted to go pro, like much of us. Without a doubt in my mind, I knew I had the opportunity to go pro. I'm actually here at Antoine's house, who's my college roommate, best friend.
Wait, Caldwell?
And so he's He's in the living room, man.
My guy, Caldwell. Anyway, go ahead. Go away. That's my man.
So I remember during his process of him getting drafted, he came back to me. He's like, man, I'll never forget this story. He said there was a scout coming back, and he started asking, like, man, whatever happened to that roommate of yours? He's like, oh, man, who you talking about? He's like, yeah, BJ. He's like, yeah, man, he got injured, just couldn't play it, couldn't do it anymore. And you know, that kind of hurt me a little bit at the time.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, I was this close, I could have made it.
Yeah.
But truly, you know, I made it in another way.
True.
I made it through the opportunities I had in the front office, but there's no telling what type of person I would have been or what type of hardship I would have had to go through if I were to become drafted, you know, or even going through the third round. I had the chance to see during my time with the Chiefs, the 8 years I was there, you know, you see guys go through, man, some serious situations that are hard to battle from. They're at the highest of highs, but when you yank that rug from under them, it's a hard fall. It's a very hard fall. And I, you know, in a sense, I look at all scenarios and all the situations in my life. I truly do, and I'm not trying to be, you know, that type of person where it's like I ignore the reality of situations. But man, I truthfully count it all joy. This is a joyous situation, a joyous occasion that I'm in. Yes. Every scenario I've ever gone through has led me to the next best.
You know what? That's. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't cut you off. Go ahead.
No. You're right. No matter what has happened, although I had to keep my head straight and battle through every situation, but every scenario I've ever gone through has led me to the next best thing.
You know, and your words speak so true, man. It's so profound, and the transparency within it. You know, and it's crazy that I always like to kind of do my research and everything, and continue going on. So then I was looking at your journey, and I forgot. I'm like, man, BJ was the third team All-American freshman. All-American freshman team. And anyway, I look at today, you post up this morning, you talk about something that's similar to what we're talking about now, where you said positive thoughts. So if you were to think about the times that you have grown as an individual, those times were during difficult moments, accept the challenges of life as opportunities to grow. And it's like, wow, man, like and again, when we doing the research on you and things like that nature, because again, we were living in that moment. At that time, we were so in that moment, living there. And I know myself personally, I was dealing with so much. You know, my history, my hamstrings. You know, it's like it's like when you was in the training room rehabbing, I was in here, or you come in out of surgery, I'm in there getting rehab on my hamstrings from pulling this time. You know, I think about I pulled my hamstrings over 10 times at the University of Alabama. You know, so my as much as my journey was enjoyable, I don't remember a time outside of my freshman year for real that wasn't in and out of the training room trying to fight to stay on the field. It's like a guy, I'm like, man, how did I even make it to even let it 4 years there? It did play some arena football afterwards, you know, because you think about these trials that you go through and how they made you, how they could have broke you, but like you said, you had nothing else to compare it to. So you're not like, hey, this is my story. I couldn't look in hindsight and see how my career would have been had I not had those injuries. All I could deal with what was going on at that time in my life, and that quitting was like, okay, I gotta keep going, you know. And I say that to segue into you went through these things, you dealt with it. And I always wondered this, because I was like, how did you get into this position to go, not in the current position, but just in general to get into the compliance area? So kind of take us through that, because I'd like to know about your journey in that way. And then, of course, talk about the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah. And I'm gonna be very candid in my approach, and
absolutely,
because I know the truth behind the situations. Obviously, not to not throw anybody on the bus or me having the ability to burn bridges. Obviously, I tend to look at things not as I see them at the current moment, but how they were after 5 years of me being removed from a particular situation, 3 or 5 years from being moved from a particular situation. So as I left from Bama, man, you know, I sat down with a mentor of mine, who still is my mentor, Scotty Hollins.
Scotty. Shout out to Scotty.
Sat down with Scotty, man. Scotty sat down with me once a week. And I was in that phase, man. I was selling life insurance And I was like, man, the people that I'm servicing are living hand to mouth, and it's hard for them to think about or discuss something that is life insurance at that current time when they got food to feed and a life to live. It's the current
hard, yeah.
And so, this was the first time I've ever had to sit down with a guy who really brought me in. And I told him, I said, hey, man, this is one of the hardest decisions I have to make. I can't keep doing this. I can't do this. This is something I want to do. This is not something I can do. I had a big deal on the table one time whenever I met with a person. And then after that, it's just nothing really like stuck for me. And I was like, this is something that was a learning technique for me. The sales, having to sit down and talk to people about something that you really don't want to talk about. You're sitting there talking about death every day to people. What would happen? What would you do if something happened? So we go through that whole ordeal. I stopped selling life insurance. I stopped doing and then I came, me and Scotty sat down and went through this book called SHAPE, and which is an acronym. The acronym is a book that was written by Eric Reese and forwarded by Pastor Rick Warren, who's out in California, which I listen to him every day, who wrote the book Driven Life. But the book is S for spiritual gift, the acronym S is spiritual gift. What is your spiritual gift? Something that God gives you that you do with these. H, what breaks your heart when you see it? A, what are your abilities? P, what's your personality? Is it introvert or extrovert? E, experiences, good and bad. So we sat down, went through that book, and I went through each chapter with them. We went through each workbook, and I saw what my goal was to be. And I said I wanted to be a director of player development in the NFL.
Yes.
After quitting that job with life insurance, again, one of the difficult jobs, because I didn't have anything else to go to after that. After quitting that job, there's a scary, scary moment.
Oh, yes. What's next?
Yeah. We all go through it like that. What's next? And so I finished up there with that book. And he said, well, what do you have to do to work in player development? I said, man, I had to go back to football because, I stepped away from football. I wanted to make my life harder at that point in time after I had all the injuries. I wanted to step away from the game to find out who I truly am without that sports stigma stuck. So I left there, and then he said, you need to get back into sports. I was like, okay, well, can you help me with that? So he went, connected me with Ed Marinowitz. Ed was the director of player personnel at Alabama at that time. So what I did was I started working in recruiting, not really getting paid. I just volunteer. I show up every morning. I was there at 7, just like the rest of the coaches would be. Whenever Coach Saban would open the door, all the coaches are there before he gets there. I was there with him. Although I was volunteering, I was acting like I was getting paid, the same amount of money. Because I didn't want to miss an opportunity for me to learn something that I would have missed.
Wow.
And so that's when I came in, worked in recruiting at Alabama for about 2.5 years. There was a guy that was working in recruiting there with me. His name is Daniel. Daniel left and went to Georgia State University, who was a first-year football program in downtown Atlanta, Georgia. Coach Curry was the head coach there.
Yes.
And so after Daniel left, he brought me over there with him as an assistant in recruiting. Still in my mind, knowing that I wanted to do player engagement, but I always tell people, man, it's easier to make a U-turn or make a right turn or a left turn when you're moving instead of a car. And so I knew that I had to keep moving. And so I left Tuscaloosa, went to Atlanta, Georgia with him. I was in Atlanta, Georgia with him for a couple years in recruiting with Coach Curry. Coach Curry calls me in his office one day. And he always done this with the guys who were, aspiring to possibly be coaches or player, whatever it was, operations or, anything along those lines. And I sat down and I told him, I said, Coach Curry, I want to be a director of player development. Still, everywhere I went, I told people exactly what I wanted to do and who I wanted to be.
Wow.
So sitting down with Coach Curry, he connected me with a lady named Dr. Sarah Hickman out in San Diego. At that time, she was the clinician for the New Jersey Jets and the Nets. So she worked for a professional team as a clinician, which they do therapy for the professional athletes. And so her and I stayed connected for about a year or so. And we're still good friends. I talked to her for about 4 or 5 years before I ever met her, man. And so, after doing that, not knowing how God and these people were working in the background for me. So still, she was giving me hints on things I could do at that current time while I was with Georgia State University, how I can still do my job and still act as if player development in that role. So she was telling me what the job actually was. And so lo and behold, one day she called me out of the blue and said, "Hey, can you send me your resume?" Sure. Shot her over my resume.
Absolutely.
She's, like, all right, cool. Not thinking anything of it. So sent her resume. She connected with the lady who was the director of player development with the Chiefs. The lady name was, she was the director of player development. Her name is Katie Douglas.
Okay.
So Katie took my resume. I get a call from the Chiefs about me, them wanting to interview me. And I'm like, I remember my homeboy, we call him young coach. His name is Jared Rutherford. So I pick up the phone. Me, him, and my other friend, Brian Harrison. We were sitting on the phone. We were sitting in the room, and I was shaving his head, like acting as if we were in a barbershop.
Yeah.
So I get my phone, and at that time, my little brother was in Japan. I look at the phone, and I get a call from an unknown number, and I'm like, man, I ain't gonna answer this unknown number. So it could be my brother. So I answered. I was like, "What's up?" And then he said, well, the phone was like, "It's BJ Stabler." I was like, you
change it up. Your voice. It's like, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'm sorry. This is. I apologize. I thought you were my brother calling from a different number. But no. This is such and such from the Kansas City Chiefs. Do you have a moment to talk? I'm like, in my head, I'm like, man, is this for real? Like, yes, of course I have a time and a chance to talk. So they went through the interview. You're like, hey, we want to schedule an interview with you later on. So they do that. And they interview me on the phone. They bring me in for the interview. I accept the position as a player development assistant with the Chiefs. And the way that worked out was, again, to talk about connections and how it's important for those connections. Katie Douglas, the general manager, Katie Douglas knew the lady that I told you about named Dr. Sarah Hickman.
Yes.
Again, I'm telling you how God works in the background for you, like how everything is like perfectly orchestrated in life.
Yes.
So Katie knows the lady Dr. Sarah Hickman. Scott Pioli, who actually knows Coach Saban's assistant, Linda, also worked in 1995 for the Cleveland Browns, 95 Browns, whatever they talk. He was a runner at that time. So he was a lower man on a totem pole at that point in time. So he was the general manager now.
Okay.
Kansas City Chiefs. And then
that's crazy. So all these connections. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Yeah. So he knew Coach Saban at that time. And so Miss Linda was actually she was Bill Belichick's assistant in Cleveland. So who was Coach Saban's assistant now?
Oh, shout out to Linda, man. Shout out to Linda. Been in the game for years, man, holding it down. Remember, shout out to you. Thank you for doing what you do. Go ahead.
Yeah, she did a fantastic job, man, of connecting me, spoke very highly of me. And, people don't understand she's well connected, man.
Yes.
Like, she is almost like the godmother of all of this. So she connected me, and and from there, I accepted the position with the Chiefs, and I was there, got promoted from a player development assistant to player development manager to a director of player development. So I was there for 8 years with the Kansas City Chiefs. And then, after that 8 years, again, I told you I was going to be frank about it. If you work in sports, they tell you, if you've never been fired in sports, you haven't been working long enough. And so, obviously,
true.
Obviously, you go through things. I got fired from the Chiefs in 2019, January 25th. Like, I remember the date. I remember the time. It was 8:30.
Oh man!
And so that was a critical moment for me. And you know, I hold no animosity about it. People probably ask the question like, "What did you do?" When you work in sports, there's no "What did you do?" Sometimes there comes a change that begins to happen within the system.
You take it and you go.
Become a part of that change. And again, it wasn't the individuals that were making the change. Again, it's God has always been working in the background for me, orchestrating. So on January 25th, I get fired from the Chiefs. My birthday is April 5th, and then April 16th, my dad passes away. And you know, at that time, I was working for a nonprofit in education in Kansas City called Literacy Lab, where they were helping young young Black men into teaching.
Yes.
I love education. That's a little side thing about me. That's part of the other reason why my Instagram name is Higher Learning. I love education. I love learning. I love not just scholastic learning. I also love life learning.
True.
You know, started working for this nonprofit, did some good work. They do good work there by trying to help young Black men to become educators. And so from there, the position came. Like I said, my dad had passed. I lost my job with the Chiefs, and things just started looking like I was getting ready to be pulled back to Alabama. And that's when that position came up. And I'll tell you this. So I was talking to somebody during that time. I did not. I'm gonna tell you, I wasn't ready to come back to Alabama. That wasn't my plan. I didn't feel like I was ready. I have a 6-year-old son who I love dearly.
Yeah, so
still in Kansas City.
Okay.
And I try my best to be the best father as I can be. I know most people see me. I try to get back to Kansas City at least once a month, spend time with him and all that stuff. I love his name is Solomon. Yeah, I love that boy. Yeah, and it was hard for me to leave Kansas City for that reason. But you know, I still knew God was in the background working. Yes. Working for me, and so the job came available as a director of a club alumni with Alabama, and I had accepted the job. But I'm gonna tell you this: I always tell people, you always think that your journey as it ends is done at that point. So when I left the Chiefs, and then I accepted the job with Alabama, the lady that I had talked to when I was getting let go, she sent me a message and said, you know, when you left here, I knew that was a hard time for you. And she said that you've done nothing but handle that situation as an ultimate professional. And I knew that nothing but greatness was going to come for your future. Wow. Continue what you've done, continue to be. And this is the same lady that was, you know, sitting down talking to me as I was getting ready to make that transition. So, you know, again, I hold animosity in that situation because I knew they were working in the background for me. And where I am today, here at the University of Alabama, excited for the building that I have an opportunity to do. Excited for what's still working in the background for me. But kind of going back to that story, while I was with the Chiefs, there were 2 opportunities that crossed my desk, right? While I was a manager in player development, there was a job that came available with the Titans that I could have taken once. Second time came available that I could have taken twice. They came, like, it was an opportunity twice that I just let it go. I wasn't mentally and spiritually, I wasn't ready to leave my son. I wasn't ready to leave Kansas City. And I had somebody told me this, that the story about, you know, God sending the ship. So the parable goes that once was a man that was lost at sea, and he was on this boat, and the boat had no food, no gas in the boat, or water. He had no water. And so as that scenario and situation was coming available, said that he was praying and praying to God, like, God, please come and save me. Please come and save me. So after the man finished praying, there was this big ship that comes by. And, sir, do you need help? And the ship, and the guy was on the ship said, no, God got me. You're good. God's got me. And so the man was like, just keep going by. So next time, God keeps praying, God, please save me. Please save me. Next thing you know, a smaller ship comes by. It's like, sir, do you need help? Like, no, God's going to save me. So it's good. Keeps going. Long story short, the man dies, gets to heaven, sees God. God, why didn't you save me? He says, who do you think sent the two ships?
Big dummy.
So I looked at that scenario, man, and I looked at my life, and it showed me God knew I wasn't going to leave. He sent two ships, the same ship.
Yeah.
Sent this with the Titans. I didn't go. Sent the same ship with the Titans again. I didn't go. So I looked back at that, and I said, he knew that I wasn't going to leave. And in order for him to expand the territory he has for me, and most people think that when you get to the league, how big of a territory can you have? Like, how big of a territory can I have? At one point in time, I was just working with football. Mm-hmm. Now I work with football. I work with swimming and diving. I get a chance to connect with softball. I get that. How does God begin to expand your territory? He gives you more responsibilities. And this is where I am right. And I'm going to foster and shepherd and take care of what I have and try to grow it to the best of my abilities.
I love it, man. That story, bro, was, I mean, yes, the journey that you took and everything you went through to get to that position, you know, and like I said, and now to end where you are. And I remember that story. I remember seeing in Pursuit of Happiness, like, I sent you two big boat shoes, dummy, you know. But that's one of my all-time favorite movies there. Now, to talk about real quick, the small snippet of your experiences. Now, you was there actually at Kansas City at the same time with a lot of, you were doing the player development, so you had to kind of talk with the players and trying to help them. And like you mentioned, some dark times. Talk about a little bit. How much did you there when Kareem Hunt went through that controversial video from that domestic violence situation that was like, whoa, okay, this is not going to end well for you. And were you able to be involved in even those type of conversations and some of the things that these young players dealt with, man, coming into the league with the Tyreek Hills and Travis Kelce? He talks about some of the things he did with how he spent his money when he first came in, all that stuff. So how involved were you in the player development aspect for that? And were you involved in some of those conversations as well?
Yeah, to some magnitude, you are involved. And obviously, those guys have had their scenarios, and I'm not sure on how ongoing the judicial system is still going in their scenario or not. So it's hard for me to kind of talk about the details of it. There are people that are in the security role that handle things whenever it gets to the legal point. I try to come and help it before situations ever get to a legal situation. Obviously, the NFL has rules that are in place that if it comes to the point that they've created a level of accountability from who all knew that that person could also get in trouble with each scenario and situation. So there were some scenarios that I really didn't know a great amount of extent about, but truthfully, man, like, as a player, I always looked at every single situation and scenario as if it was a life or death. I mean, some people probably did not think. It's a hard job to be in. People from the outside, like, how hard can it be as a millionaire? Truthfully, not everybody is a millionaire. Not everybody is paid to that extent. And at the end of the day, these guys are real people. And when you look at the situation, somebody can really be making a large amount of money for a short amount of time. But if somebody goes and works for AT&T or whatever the job is, they're creating longevity from the job. The average span of an NFL player is 3.5 years. And you try to stretch that 3.5, it's probably less than 3.5 now. But you try to stretch that 3.5 as much as you can. but it's rarely impossible, merely impossible to stretch that, because that is not up to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to a coach or a general manager or the system or the regime that begins to change. There's a lot of variables in that can change the trajectory of a player and make it hard for him as a person.
Yes. So you talk about what things you had to do with as a player development at that state of Kansas City. Kind of talk about, man, just really quick, is some of the things that you in that role really want to give to it. Is it being able to help out the players, kind of type of conversation that they confided in you, or better yet, that you want to bring to the table to make sure they was able to navigate through this thing? Because like I said, man, still people tend to forget they look like grown men. But bro, we know at 22, you're 23 years old, you're still a kid. You in a lot of ways, you're still a kid. A lot of them, you're still gonna make a lot of mistakes, and just knowing that their mistake is gonna be magnified times 30 because of the position that they are in. So, what were some of the things that you make sure that you wanted to relate to them and relate to them and relate with them through that process while using those positions for those years, man?
Well, man, you truthfully try to shelter them. I mean, obviously they become like your brothers, and you become very close to them. Like they share some of the most personal stories with you. And I always tell people, man, before you go and attack a personal or player on Instagram or Twitter, you have to understand these guys are fathers, brothers.
Yes.
They have roles that they have to consume as one individual.
Yes.
So be cautious in that, because it really is hard for them at times. And I know social media makes it easy. But some of the things that we did, man, I think we did a fantastic job. And I'm going to give a shout out to Ramsey Robinson Bino.
Yeah, they're still up there right now. Yeah, yes.
Yeah, I actually brought Bino in, who's a former teammate of mine. I brought him in to help me out in player development. He was my partner there. And so he's still there in the position. And so he's doing a fantastic job there. But what we did was we did different things that were centered for our athletes. Like if they wanted to be businessmen, we have entrepreneurs around the city that would come in and talk to them and provide advice to them. We had realtors come in that would come, like major realtors that would come in and talk to them and sit down with them. So whatever they had, we gave surveys to them. Whatever they shared in the survey, we got that information back, and we catered our program based around who those individuals were by group. Now, we would have one-offs. Like we had some guys that wanted to become police officers. We had some guys that wanted to be firefighters, which I had no idea that you had to become an EMS before you ever become a firefighter. You have to ride like an ambulance. You have to do all these several different things before you become a firefighter. So we have these players. They want to do other jobs as well. They want to be police officers. They still want to be, they still want to be high school coaches. They still want to be public servants, or so to speak. And I do think that player development are still doing a great job in servicing the players and helping them take the mind off of what was the wrong thing, but move it towards a positive aspect of it.
Okay. I like that. So let's talk about now. You go from Kansas City Chiefs at 8 years to the University of Alabama, and it's so crazy. Super Bowl. They won the Super Bowl. That's your last year. They won the Super Bowl, right?
They missed it by a year.
So you missed it. Okay, so you missed it by a year. So missed it by a year. But then you come here to Alabama. So you got a team that was on a destiny, that was on the trajectory to get to the Super Bowl and to win it. And now you come to University of Alabama. Boom, probably the best season ever. Arguably can go down as the best season ever of college football for a team. And your really first season of really being in that position, and amidst all that was going on. But before we get into that, the Raiders, the best recruiting class of all times. Already projecting that. Of course, that's yet to be seen, because it's won and lost and proven on the field. But to go back to this, man, it's been this year, man, with Devontae Smith, man, being the first receiver to win the Heisman since Desmond Howard back in 1992, 91. How was it, man, to be, talk us inside a little bit, part of being around all of that just a crazy season like it was, man. Not to mention that But yeah, let's don't jump into that. How was his experience this year, man, being a part of that national championship team and being around those players?
I mean, when I look back at the situation and scenario, yeah, this season was as crazy as it can be with coaching and managing and trying to make sure that we still would have a season.
Yes.
At one point in time, it was very questionable. I think it was the Big Ten that had begun to cancel theirs, and obviously Pac-12, and seeing the political stuff that kind of goes into it, and people don't understand that stuff began to make a play into what can begin to happen. For example, like our capacity of our stadium was 20%.
Yeah.
Why was it 20%? Based off of what the governor and everybody was the limitations that they placed on that. And so, I don't get it. Like I said, I have a chance to work with all of them. Yes, football has been doing a fantastic job, and this is one of the greatest seasons that we've had because we was forced to only play SEC. So hard to kind of measure one squad to the next squad. And I won't go into that. We won't have the top 5 talk and all that stuff. I think that
we might have to have this top 5 talk. What's up? No, keep it going. Keep it going.
I know we won't go that deep into it, but I would have to kind of say, yeah, Coach Saban has done a fantastic job of managing through the pandemic, managing the negativity that was faced around the pandemic, the social unjust and unrest that we begin to chance to see. And I think we have to some extent begin to tear a veil of what is begin to project us into a term of growth. So it's like, about working out. When you work out, you tear a muscle. And when you tear that muscle, you begin to have new muscle that begin to grow. I'm seeing from our university, and that's what I'm beginning to see because of the University of Alabama. If we weren't having great management that was done, and now, Greg Burns, who's our director of athletics here, we got 10 teams that are ranked in the top 25 nationally.
Yes.
We got swimming and diving, we got baseball, we got softball, we got football.
Sports is doing a thing. Yes.
Golf, we got. Basketball is killing it right now. They're 10-0 in the SEC. I think I shared this. I don't think I've ever seen a team, a university that has excelled in sports the way that we have. And I'm going to tell you why I think it is. The culture that I've seen there is because we can have rowing, the head rowing coach, tweeting about what a great job our track and field team is doing. We can have
cross branding
talking about what a great job softball is getting ready to do. It's not just everybody sticking to their own little corner and saying it's mine. I think what I've seen is a culture of fostering inclusivity, a culture of accepting differences, and a culture of pushing for a true team environment, not just within team, but team across each sport. And that's what I've seen. And I have to give kudos to that. Our executive staff and not just the sport. What I've seen is everybody else as well.
Yes. So let me ask you this question. So going into that, this is this Black History Month, profound, and like I said, man, I it's crazy to see that when I heard you had got this position, it blew me away. Because I never thought we'd have be able to Alabama alumni over all the alumni, a Black guy, a Black person in general. To suit even in that, like I said, it speaks to what you were just alluding to. The barriers have been broken down, and the inclusivity that we are adding to it, the dynamics. Because you gotta think about it. Be truthful is that the majority of the major sports in basketball and football, women's and men's, and things of that nature, track and field, are predominantly Black. African American people look like you and I, and to not have that faith. Now, again, Tommy Ford, not taking anything from him, he did a great job this time there. I still enjoy coming down to 8A, and I hope and pray we can have one again this year, but for real, get it going. But to have that in, man, I think it was a step in the right direction that Alabama was going to be able to show a full scope of diversity, and also, and even from an age standpoint, to connect with because I always feared that we would lose, the older generation compared to the new generation, the gap that was there. We kind of talked about that numerous of times ourselves about making sure that, we can keep that gap closed and not have a gap from the old generation, new generation, or becoming from the early 2000s to the late 2000s, not being able to feel like they're being included or being able to connect with each other. So I said all that to say, it was a beautiful thing in that position where I'm like, okay, yeah, I want to make sure that my man is well supported, and knowing that we don't take this lightly as an opportunity, that we are being heard, being felt. But likewise, man, like you talked about the social injustice that took place this summer, how was the temperature around the campus and indoor facility and things of that nature when all this took place? Because like I said, it was shocked. It was like, oh, wow, okay, we're doing it. And to see, in my case, while I look at Saban, hearing the voice of the players, and not about just doing it just because it was doing it, but being on the right side of history, and to march in solidarity, and showing that we are all one. We all want the equality. We want these things to be done right, and all these things. Did you know about it ahead of time, and what was the climate like in the conversation like on campus, in the compliance office and things when these things were taking place?
Man, truthfully, I didn't know it was going to happen. I didn't know that that was the plan until it was truthfully all through and through player led. It was student athletes led.
Yeah.
What we see, and we all know the history of Alabama.
Yes.
We all understand the history of Alabama, and I don't have to go that deep into that. But what we are seeing is a younger generation that are standing up and fighting for the least of these. As the Bible talks about, like, of the least of these.
Yes.
There are some hurt, there are some suffering that are going on in this world. And these student athletes have recognized that. The administration, from across the board, have supported them in their voices, obviously. And I just sat back and watched it, honestly, to see what culture I was a part of and what I was dealing with. Obviously, a lot of times people are so quick, and that's not I'm not saying it's wrong. People are oftentimes a lot quick to speak up and speak out about a particular thing. I like to sit back and view the landscape before to insert mine, because there's always a separate side to something. Yes, absolutely. There's always something like do I get emotional about typically about particular things? Yes, I do. I really do. But I can't respond on how I feel every single time in that current moment. I think that's where wisdom lies, and that's where we are. But in terms of what we are seeing in today, we're seeing a lot of students that not are particularly from Alabama. We're seeing a lot of student athletes that are not particularly from Alabama. We're seeing diversity. We're seeing a lot of differences. And we are, as a higher learning organization, are fostering those young minds to become whoever and whatever they want to be.
Yes. I like it, man. So, like I said, it's very, very, very profound, and like what you just said, and how this movement is taking its place and shaping. It has shaped itself. And like I said, I think it really spoke volumes to not only to me, but also I was out that day and moving forward. And I was, but very proud of what the university, and that knowing that I was a part of that, and still have connection to it, to see that, because about most of the time, the state of Alabama in general, we still doing a lot of different things. We're the last to be on the right side of history. We're the last to make these type of moves, and to see that progressive, man, and it had me to gain so much more respect for Coach Saban, and not just because, hey, I'm proud to see what you're doing because it looks good on us. No, because you was okay with going against the grain, and knowing that, we probably had some former alumni that what I'm saying I was proud of it, you was proud of it. Some problem alumni wasn't proud of that. Some problem that didn't think that, hey, don't bring politics into football or whatever. But it was so weird. I had an interview with Harper long ago, and he was talking about how really wasn't bringing politics into sports, but when politics kept on inviting themselves into into sports, okay, dealing with it and not hijacking the narrative. And I think it was a great deal that they made that very clear of what this was about and what it wasn't about. It wasn't about no disrespect to anyone or anything, and not that you don't support police and all these things and law enforcement, but just kind of bringing a new light to things. Now to move on into that, into what you're doing as alumni, man. Talk about some things coming down the pipeline as a part of the A Club Association. I know we just launched the website, which I went ahead and make sure go ahead and got my account set up. So I'm excited. It looks beautiful, by the way. So kudos to you and everybody that's a part of that. What's some of the things coming down the pipeline, man? And I want to hear about it, included with the A Day, man, because it was hurt after how the A Day last year, understandably so. But what's coming down the pipeline, and man, and how's the new adjustment been going with that?
There's still some planning. Obviously, we're planning for a normal year for next year, or this coming up season in the fall. But in between that, there's still a few things that are up in the air. I actually have a call right after this to begin discussing about reunions. I'm going to have a call next week about start talking about what A Day will probably look like if that's the route we're going to go. And obviously there's still discussions centered around that. But in regards to A Club, man, you hit the nail on the head. Like I mentioned before, it's all about connections. And I want to make sure I do the best that I can for you. There's also a group on the website that is centered specifically for podcasts. So any of our members that have podcasts, have YouTube channels, they have shows, they have creative content media that they want to push out there. We have a group that is within that site specifically for our alumni. They want to share that with other alumni. Obviously, a couple of different things that we begin to realize and basic needs. There's a job board on there where our members, if they're beginning to transition, within their careers, we have over 200 jobs that is on our website specifically for our alumni. They're looking to find there that they can begin to apply for. Not only that, we want to take the experience of our alumni and make sure we use it as an advantage. I always tell people there's three things that you can always give. You have your time that you can give, you have your talent that you can give, and you have your treasures that you can give. And we're not going to sit here and ask our alumni for money all the time, but we're going to ask them, hey, listen, if you have time, please give that. We're going to start doing things within the community. We want to start planning around that. We're going to, and their talent. Have mentoring opportunities that we have our current student athletes on the site. They'll be able to connect with a person on there. The site will ask, are you willing to help? And that'll be centered around your name and your picture. It will say willing to help. And if our student athletes see what your professional background is and experience is, they can connect with our alumni and then begin to build in a relationship from there that can help them in their professional career as they begin to make that transition. Obviously, I think COVID was probably one of the worst things of 2020, but it provided us a lot of time for planning and opportunity to begin to think about what is the wave of the future that is going to be. And, I feel like this site is going to do just that once all of our members. So if you can, share the word with all of our members. Roman, next time you get a chance to talk to him, tell him about it.
Absolutely.
Put out the good word on how great the site will be. We have a golf tournament coming up that will be on March the 11th. That will be at Rock Creek down at Fairhope, Alabama. Tee time that will start at 11 o'clock. Jake Coker is the lead, who is a national champion quarterback here in Alabama.
Big Coke, yes.
The leader of that tournament that will be held down there. And so, we have a lot of great things that is in store for our alumni. We just, first things first, without trying to tap into all of those several different things, I will tell you there's one thing that I could tell you to take away from this. Tell our alumni to sign up on alabamaaclub.com. Go to alabamaaclub.com, register, put all of your information, add a picture, so our current student athletes can recognize who you are and they can see that you're willing to help.
You know what? The key. You guys check it out. Go subscribe. Go and create your account. You hear it. I already got mine done. It don't take long at all. It's very inclusive, very, very easy to navigate. Get on there. Take care of it, man. Let's be a part of something making it great. Like I said, man is out here pushing it. And he, like I said, coming to new ideas and things of that nature, carrying on to the great tradition, man. And I shout out to also having the Coker, being a part of that tea time and things, like you said, really bringing bridging that gap from the old to the new. Like I said, in the future, guys. So like I enjoyed, man. Last thing I'm gonna segue with is how much longer does Saban got? How much longer you see this guy going, man? Like you be around, you get a chance to see this energy because this is the best class ever. Like even just to hear that, I was like, it can't be. Like 2017 class was crazy. Like what? So
hey,
what your mindset, man? What's up?
There's no time limit. The turn up is real. That's all I can leave you with. The turn up is real. I've never seen, and again, Coach doesn't get built. He doesn't get, and you'll hear him talk about it. Like this is not something I'm sharing that is like hidden information. Coach don't get wrapped up in the stars.
Yes.
Coach actually still does go get guys that are going to be best fit for what our program actually needs. And he does a great job of that. And think about it, man. Like you're seeing coaches change.
11 this year, 11, and got better.
Yeah. And he's still rolling. He's still energetic. I'm ready.
Have you got a chance to see some of the new staff guys coming in? I know we had Bill O'Brien.
Teammate there. Freddie Roach still there.
Yeah, I forgot about Freddie. Yes, for Freddie, yes. Join back in. Shaheem, I heard Shaheem Carter, they're going to join the crew as well. He done joined the coaching staff. Yeah. Just finished up last year before last. He's in there, man. And shout out to Freddie, man, for what you're doing, man. We definitely root for you always, every day, all day. So, man, yeah, it's great, man. It's keeping it rolling. I love it. Roll time. Man, where Antoine at, man? Real quick, this sec. What Antoine somewhere around?
Yeah, he's right here.
Antoine, man, just step in front of the camera for a little bit, man. Are you podcast appropriate right now? Right now?
1 second, hold on.
All right, you want to get my man Antoine before we head out, man. This is another monster. Played for Houston, Texas for a few years. OG from the Montgomery, Alabama. Yeah, jump on in here, man. Man, what is
What's the word,
bro? We're doing
man,
good,
you
man.
got it.
Look at you, man, living big time. I'm thinking that's BJ. You the one got the Bama rock in the background. We stay true. I love it. How life treat you, man.
Right there. Man, hey, we're just trying to put it together, E. That's all.
I see you. You're doing great with it.
Man, how you been, bro? You looking good, man? Everything good with you?
Everything's great, man. I'm loving it, man. We still roll tide representing, you know what I'm saying? The E36, so we got the E36, the 36 number. You know what it is.
Yes.
So yes. Yeah. We still doing it, man. So one thing I say, I'm gonna have to get you on the podcast. Don't be ducking and dodging me now.
No, man. Hey, lock me in. Lock me in. Look forward to it.
We'll do that, man. We'll get this number exchanged off the line, whatever, make it happen. Man, shout out to you. I appreciate you. BJ not BJ. Antoine guy was All-American at Bama his day, center, one of the best to come through still. But anyway, I appreciate you, man. And but anyway, last words here, BJ, man. I appreciate you for getting my man on there. I appreciate you for coming on to the show. And last thing here, BJ, give me any last words real quick.
Last words is the thing that I hope that that my journey and my conversation today can serve as some form of fruitfulness to somebody else's life today. Obviously, whether it be professional-wise or just personal-wise, that if we are in something, typically I think, I'm trying to remember what Scotty told me that time. He's like,
Scotty,
3 stages of life that we have. That somebody's either getting ready to go into something, they're in something, or they're coming out of something. Those are those 3 phases that we're going through, and I hope that people that hear your podcast are able to continue to keep their head up, and stay engaged into what it is, and find some hope in what they got going on in life.
I love it, man. And I appreciate, like I said, once again for coming on this podcast. And that's my whole goal. My podcast is to be able to uplift people, inspire people, and to highlight the people out there that's doing it, but you may not hear about it. You probably want to know about who's BJ Stabler, what is he doing, what his position is, and how impactful it is, and kind of the journey that he's went through to get where he's at. And this is what E36 is all about, man. The underdogs coming up and having their platform to tell the world about their story. So again, I appreciate you and everything that you have done and continue to do. And guys, are signing out, man. Make sure you like and subscribe. Like, subscribe, share this page. Like, subscribe, share. Like, subscribe, share. Follow my man on all his social media. You see it on the bottom, guys. Make sure you follow him on the social media. And like I said, continue to support the E36 platform. We out of here in 3, 2, 1.
E36 Unfiltered, aka the Unfiltered room with Mr. E.G.O.A.T. Introducing all the latest names in the latest news. Hottest take, he the new face, yeah, the new sound. Keep it old school, raw interviews from local athletes, even digging off and entertaining.